How do we know that the right hand is scratching an itch on the back of our head, the left hand is waving our friends goodbye, the right foot is trying to slip into a shoe, and the tip of our tongue, fully contorted, is digging out a piece of almond wedged between our molars? Well, let's find out. Hi, and welcome to the Schmid Zone. I'm Mathew Schmid. Now, quite literally, and just like the name says, a healthy sense of self-movement perceives all the movements our body makes. We feel inside that we are moving. It makes us aware of even the slightest motion. I mean slightest, millimeters. To be more specific, we need to say that this sense perceives all spatial changes that our limbs and other body parts make towards each other. Fingers, hands, arms, legs, of course, but also tongue, jaw, our Adam's apple, and eyelids, for instance. Not so much the movements we or our body make, moving locations or in relation to the environment, as we walk or drive or fly, or being ripped about in a roller coaster. Now that movement through space is perceived by the fourth sense in the sense light of the sense of balance, the next sense we will be discussing. Without the sense of self-movement, we would literally not know where our hands, arms, or feet are, if they were moving and where they were moving towards. Just to be clear, this muscle sense perceives movement. It is not the force that enables us to move. So it's no wonder that the sense, which is also referred to as proprioception or kinesthesia, has its home in muscles, tendons, ligaments, and joints. Now, if we would contemplate the relationship between space, movement, and muscle, we would find out how deeply related they are. Now, because of this sense of self-movement, we have a free and independent use of our body. We can simply move along with purpose and express ourselves with meaning. Either way, how do we make ourselves move? How do all our movements come about? We don't know how it really works. There's a lot of clever explanation of what you need to move, what components like brain, nerves, muscles. But how we actually make it happen, we just don't know. What we can observe, however, is that no movement can happen without a plan, an impulse, an idea. No movement can happen without an intention or a reason to move. But the best way to say is simply no plan, no movement. Now, what do I mean? How does it work? Let's say we notice a juicy apple sitting over there in a bowl of apples and we want it. There's the plan. It's an insta-plan. You make a couple of steps towards the table with the bowl, reach in, grab the apple, and so are you moving towards the apple or are you bringing the apple to you? Well, who cares, you might say. As long as I get my apple, does it really matter? While this might seem insignificant or even stupid to talk about, it actually matters a lot if we want to understand certain processes in life, and this sense of self-movement in particular. Now let me explain. When your plan kicks in a split second, you are already eating that apple. All you are doing in the follow-up is executing that plan. Yes, outwardly. Exoterically, you might be moving from your position to the apple, A to B, but inwardly, or esoterically, you are bringing the apple to you. Having a plan basically means you're already there. You've already thought it, done it, executed in your head, stepping over to that apple, grabbing it perfectly and biting into it. Now, all you're doing is following with the outer movements. The architect creates a plan, the home is built. A plan determines the future. It already happened, and when we execute, we move. We bring the future to the present. This is true for all the millions of smaller movements and larger movements we make. Plan. I'm going to the gym. Well, you're already there. By going there, you're actually bringing it to you. Coffee. Cup, button, wait, grab, drink. To move, even the simplest moves, we need a plan. We don't have a plan, movement cannot take place. On the other hand, when we do have a plan, especially a good one, we can suddenly bring bursts of energy to our body and move. Now, where does this energy come from? It does not come from inside our muscles or tendons or joints. That's where we perceive the movement. And remember, this sense doesn't provide the source of movement either. It is sourced from a higher place that ancient cultures always referred to as our sun, star, or astral or energy body. Our plan, depending also on the degree of our personal development, bursts intelligent energy into our body so we can make movement happen. Okay, for one moment, we would take the sense of self-movement away from us adults and rewind it where it all began. We would see ourselves like little babies and toddlers who really have no clue yet, no plan. So how did we move? Well, we lived completely and joyfully in the movements and gestures of our environment, and the people that were closest to us, our mother, father, siblings, relatives, friends, and so on. We moved from their plan, from that incidental kicking, through many thousands of impressions of the eye and the proprioceptive system, gradually to that targeted and later conscious movement. If a baby would not have the breast of the mother brought to its mouth, it could not suck. Babies are helpless. The plan and part of this execution of the baby are the adults. Take a look at the little ones, who mimic and copy every movement and gesture from their surrounding. Their plan is still outside. They live by means of imitation. They soak up everything unemotionally, unconditionally, because this is what children do at that age and how they learn or internalize. They are sponges. You smile, they smile. You laugh, they giggle or scream. You sing, they gurgle, blow, bubbles, or belt. You cook, they pull out every single pan and pot you own. And you swear and cuss, and suddenly you hear it echoed from the mouth of your 4-year-old. Perfectly timed. So the concept of imitation should be really the biggest word in early education and pedagogy for the little ones, babies to around 12 years of age. For the genuine teacher and parent, it should have enormous meaning because the method of learning in early childhood and all the way up to the middle school is based on the principle of imitation, copying. We, the adults, are the models and the kids look up and imitate us. They copy us. You feel it, say it, you do it, and so will they. We will therefore consider the sense of self-movement to be the foundation for imitation. So if imitation is the way we learn in early childhood, we need to think long and hard about the consequences of our behaviors, words, and actions. Everything we do and how we do it, our attitude, our tone, our facial expressions, gesture, what we say and how we say it, what we believe in, what we carry in our hearts and thoughts, our intentions are closely watched and absorbed, taken in by the children as an operating principle, the foundation for their feelings and thoughts and actions or work. Setting a good example, living by good example ought to be every citizen's cultural contribution. And this is not a question of ambiguous morality, but the health and the well-being for the next generations. And if the absolute precision of the sense of self-movement is any indication, the children's perception is equally astute. First, we need to develop our own movements through imitating our surrounding, learning from it. Once we are matured, older, we can refine it through practicing and perseverance. Oh, and practice is another big word in education. Exercising a precise sequence of movement, especially one concerned with a specified area or skill until we reach mastery as an artist, like a philosopher or scientist or an athlete. That's what education means. Educare, to bring out, lead forth, or lead out. Now, we humans can do that until we are very old. However, you will have to maintain the proficiency you have accomplished through ongoing practice, or the ability will fade. Now, another beautiful aspect of the sense of self-movement is that the knowledge of our own movements, gestures, and facial expressions, gait, posture, gives us way to understand another person. It is our sense of self-movement that enables us to relate to the joy when we see a child skipping or running happily along, or the sadness when a friend is suffering. We are also very entertained when we see well-done impersonations, especially of people that we know. That brings me to how our ability to move outwardly is also closely related to our inner life. They relate to each other and mutually influence each other. Limited movement or mobility can lead to emotional restrictions, hardness, as we can often observe in stubbornness and emotional imprisonment. In opposite, with free-flowing movement, skipping, dancing, and even just walking along in nature, we expand our inner space and experience joy and happiness. The development and the use of the sense of self-movement can be seen as a basis for an overall feeling of joy and freedom. The sense of movement also builds the foundation for our inner movements and cognitive receptivity, our learning, taking in words, ideas, and thoughts. As soon as, however, the cognitive movement happens, listening to words or someone's thoughts, any physical self-movement, especially the head, must quiet down. Physical movement must slow or stop altogether to allow for inner movement, thinking or feeling to take place. That can be observed many times during the day. As soon as our interest peaks, our attention is captured, our movement comes to a halt. Chewing gum is a great example. Chew, 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 and once something catches our attention, we stop. Just observe how we behave when we go to school, church, or listen to a classical concert, an opera, or a play. We quiet our physical activity and give ourselves over to the movement of the music, ceremony, story, or thought. This outer resting principle is so deeply anchored in our lives that chewing gum or tapping your fingers or talking is seen in many situations as demonstrating disinterest and disrespect. So we can understand that alternating inner and outer movement is essential in creating a school lesson plan and designing a curriculum overall. Each lesson should be designed with that in mind, like breathing in and breathing out. Beautiful and meaningful outer movement expand and inspire inner emotional and cognitive artistic movements. And they again refine our outer self movement and self-expression. Before I close, I want to quickly return to this idea that we need a plan to move. I want to expand on that a little, and I might be going out on a limb here, so please stick with me. I still find it fascinating how our senses, which we associate mainly with physiological functions, give us insight into the great unrelated, more spiritual mysteries of life itself and turn out to be an important part of figuring it out. With touch, it's the simple everyday contact, but then this profound individualization and reconnection is embedded. Or with the life sense, it monitors our well-being, but it's also responsible for keeping us honest and on track. While I'm sure you've heard of that phrase, everything is connected, tossed around. It is often used as sort of a white flag statement at the end of a confusing, this makes absolutely no sense, attempt at chatting about quantum theory. But I have to agree. It is very true, and not only are all things connected, but they are interdependent and dependent on each other. And we, right here, right now, need to be at least as concerned with learning how all these things are connected and interwoven as we are with technological innovation. By connecting the dots of living systems, understanding their interdependence, we can innovate better while destroying far less in the process. But the challenge is that these intersections are still unknown, invisible in nature, and we need to change our observation, our thinking, and approach to discover them. But back to the sense of self-movement. Besides the ability to perceive all movements we make, does it do something else? Well, let's find out. So we have a plan and we're already there in the future, and now I'm bringing the future towards me as I'm going towards it. Check yourself if you can move without a plan, have a career without a plan, no movement, no matter how simple or complex, without a plan. So what about the much larger movement we make in our lives on planet Earth? The arc of our life, throughout our biography. How did we get here, where we are now? Did we inch, did we push or worm our way forward to this place we are today? Is life just a string out of coincidences, random sputterings of event, and we are little rubber ducks bobbing towards our future? Or does the same principle apply? The principle that we need a life plan to move our biography forward. Or another way of saying it, has our future already happened and all we are now doing is executing, living out, or fulfilling our destiny by bringing that future toward us? I think so. I believe so. You might have just not thought about it that way. You might have not looked at life that way, but let's see how it works. Okay, fine, you say. Where is my plan? How can I find it? Well, your very own life plan lives or exists in the non-material world in the spirit, which is, by the way, a genuine and quite large part of your life, your existence, and all around you. But just like light or thoughts or feelings, love or anger, the plan itself is not visible to our physical senses. But it is present all the time, and the way we find it or how it reveals itself to us is through our own very personal disposition to all things in life. People, ideas, activities, thoughts, music, books, food. Now, in our very specific tendencies, likings and dislikings, attractions and repulsions, lies the blueprint of our plan. Are we not more or less exposed to all the same things as others when we grow up? But we can quickly observe that we have different, even opposite preferences, tastes, and interests. We perceive the world differently, make different choices, and are drawn to different things and people than our friends, our parents, and even siblings, even when we're triplets and twins. We can say that through our personal dispositions, our life's plan, our destiny reveals itself to us. Now, to be able to know who we want to be, what career or vocation to choose, what to believe, whom to love, where we belong and where we don't, lies in this blueprint of life. With every choice we make, with every true biographical movement, we are manifesting our destiny. We are accepting our future into our present. But how do we know it's our own future, our plan? Well, because it resonates with us. Or more precisely said, we recognize it. And we can only recognize something that we have encountered before. Encountering someone or something in our life's journey really means recognizing it. And the only thing that leaves true and lasting impressions on us is what we had planned to encounter, what we were searching for. So this sense of self-movement perceives all our movements from our body to our biography. We could not perform a single movement without a plan, and equally could not live a single day of our life. We could not move around this earth without having a greater plan in place. Thank you for watching. Check out all the other cool content on the Schmid Zone and N2K, and please share and let me know your thoughts. Don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you next time when we talk about the sense of balance. Stay healthy.